Okay, welcome back, Midnight Readers. How's everybody doing tonight? I hope everyone's well. We are jumping right back into the book we've been reading, and Their Legend, Our Destiny, from the Butterflies of the Heart series. We are starting back on Chapter 9. A little summary of where we left off was Shelly, the main character, has just had an encounter, if you will, with a guy out in the woods, a Native American, who told her of the local legend of the battle between the natives and the settlers, and how the settlers' daughter stayed to care for the chief, and how they ended up having children together and uniting the two groups of people, and the powers that were bestowed upon the chief, and how this native believes that Shelly is to be as the settler's daughter was for the chief. So there's a lot of confusion and mistrust right now. She doesn't know what she's seen. She is very confused. She doesn't know if she believes in any of it, but she can't explain how he knows what she dreamt about or what she's been experiencing, and there's just no way to explain that whatsoever. Logan saw him as well, and now she's kind of grasping for straws. She's trying to figure out, is there truth behind it? Are there any actual facts that can solidify her thesis about what's going on? She has an idea, but she needs the proof, and so that's what she's been doing. She spent that whole day and night researching and trying to find anything and everything that could back up what she was thinking so she could present it to Asher and Logan. And so that's where we are now. We're jumping back into Chapter 9. Here we go. The next morning, Asher, Logan, and I made breakfast together before sitting at the table. As we ate, I passed the guys the article I printed out about the local Native American legend. Through my research, I had learned that the symbol that I had seen along the path, as well as on the man's chest yesterday, was the tribe symbol. It represented the teleporting abilities passed down through the chief's bloodline. I also learned that for each member of that bloodline, there was believed to be only one person that they were destined to be with. They would know they found them, as they would have an almost magical healing and soothing effect on one another. The female would almost always be led to the male in the time of need. "Holy shit! That's the dude from yesterday," Logan blurted out. Asher looked at him skeptically. "You saw this guy yesterday? You sure about that? This dude would be over 100 years old now." Logan looked to me. I nodded before speaking. "Yes, that's definitely him. I sat and spoke with him yesterday. I thought he was just one of the neighbors until he told me this exact story. He is worried about Heath and thinks I'm her." "I don't follow. Thinks you're who?" Asher questioned. "He thinks I'm the one that's meant to help Heath." "Wait, what?" Logan questioned, giving me a sideways look. I shrugged. "I don't know. He said that was the point of him telling me this story." "I don't know. He said that was the point of his telling me the local legend, so I could help his bloodline." This is all sounding a bit outlandish. How do we know that he didn't just hear of it, or even read about the local legend, and tell you with hopes of trying to manipulate you into doing God knows what with Heath? Asher questioned, still studying the article. "Well, if that were the case, I don't think Heath would need any help getting a girl. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but he's a pretty good-looking guy, and obviously wealthy," I replied, almost feeling the need to defend Heath. "How would you know what he looks like?" Asher blurted out, clearly frustrated. We both looked over as Logan tapped the picture of the man on the article. "Like this. Just like this. Only with different hair," Logan said, letting his annoyance be known. In that instant, I saw a look in Logan's eyes that made me sad. He had the soul-crushing look of a child who had just lost his favorite toy, as he shoved the article away from him and began picking at his food. There was an awkward silence the remainder of breakfast. After we cleaned up, I went for a walk to get some air and clear my head. The sound of the creek was peaceful and drew me in as I watched the water flow over the rocks and around the obstacles. Obstacles? Ah! I almost fell headfirst into the creek after tripping on something large and hard. I wasn't sure what I had tripped on at first, as nothing had been in my path just a second before. That was, until a strong hand grabbed me and pulled me back, steadying me on my feet. I looked up to meet Heath's intense stare. "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I don't know how I didn't see you there," I exclaimed, embarrassed. "It was my fault," he said in a low voice while looking in the opposite direction. It took me a second before I realized what he had meant. I already knew the answer, yet asked anyway, with the hopes of being able to help. "Are you okay?" Fine. Heath, you could talk to me, you know. Who knows? Maybe I can help. I urged, placing a hand on his shoulder. Then it happened, just as it happened in my dream. He put his hand on mine, holding it firmly against him as he slowly turned his head to look at me. I felt a million things as his beautiful blue eyes stared deep into mine. It was almost as though he were searching for something, for a moment before his expression turned cold. Sliding my hand off his shoulder, he spoke in a low, cold tone. I said I'm fine. I'm used to being on my own. You should get back to your boyfriend before he starts to worry. And with a blink of an eye, he vanished, just as quickly as he had appeared. The image of the tears I had seen in his eyes just before he disappeared were now ingrained in my memory, and it hurt. Although we were practically strangers, there was no denying the feelings that were growing stronger every day. The man from the woods was right. I don't know why or how, but Heath and I were definitely connected on some level. The remainder of the day, as I unpacked my last few boxes, I found myself being drawn to look out my window. However, Heath was nowhere to be seen. That night, I awoke to a pain in my stomach and a feeling of deep sadness. It took me a couple of minutes to realize that these were not my feelings. I was confused, but the only explanation I could come up with was it must be Heath. With my mind back on him, I tiptoed over to my window and peered out. There was no sign of Heath anywhere. A shadowed figure drew my attention down to the step leading up to the porch. It sat there, unmoving. Who was it, and why were they on my front steps? Upon closer examination, I discovered it was Logan. What was he doing? I threw on a hoodie and flip-flops and headed down to him. He didn't look at me as I sat down next to him. Hey, he muttered. The way he said it made it apparent something was wrong. What are you doing out here? I asked. Just trying to clear my head. It's a lot to take in, and I'd be lying if I said I was happy about any of it. His voice shook as he spoke. When he hung his head towards his knees, I couldn't take it anymore. I hated seeing him upset. Putting my arm across his shoulders, I hugged him. I'm sorry, I whispered. You don't have anything to be sorry about. You haven't done anything wrong. I just wish you knew. Wish I knew what? I cried. Nothing. There's no point. He said when I cut him off. I wasn't asleep. I heard everything the other night. I'm sorry. I just didn't know what to say. I've always felt that way about you. I probably always will, but I understand and respect your choice not to act on it. Next thing I knew, I was being wrapped in the tightest embrace Logan had ever given me. I will always love you, no matter what happens, he said, clearly choked up as he nuzzled his face into my neck. We stayed like that silently for a long while before either of us spoke again. Tomorrow morning's going to be tough. You should get some sleep, he finally said. I nodded. He was right. Tomorrow was probably going to take everything out of me. I had been dreading this day for a long time now. He silently followed me up to my room, stopping in my doorway. Want me to stay tonight? It's probably the only way I'll get any sleep, I replied, thankful he was still willing to be there for me when I needed it the most. Chapter 10. The next morning came in no time. I couldn't help the tears that escaped my eyes as I stood there holding my mom's hand for the last time. As I stared at her peaceful face, I imagined her eyes opening and her giving me that reassuring smile of hers that always let me know everything would be okay. Asher stood beside me, holding my other hand, as he too stared at her for the last time. The only thing keeping me from collapsing right then and there was Logan's firm chest pressed up against my back as he draped his arms across mine and Asher's shoulders. We stayed there, holding our hand for a while, even after they had turned off all the machines. I sucked in a sad breath before walking away from my mom, my best friend, for the very last time. My heart felt tight, and it was hard to breathe. It felt as though a piece of me had died when they turned off that life support machine. We were all quiet as Logan drove us home. Once home, I told the guys that I was going to go upstairs and take a shower. I sat on the shower floor, unable to move as my tears mixed with the falling water from the shower. Then, the strangest thing happened. I don't know why or how, but I could feel my mom's presence. It felt as though she was there beside me, letting me know everything would be okay, just as she always had. This feeling gave me the strength to get up, finish my shower, and keep going forward. Ugh, there it was again, the pain in my stomach and the overwhelming feeling of sadness. Only this time, it was coupled with the feeling of loneliness. Being absolutely and utterly alone. My mind snapped back to what Heath had said about being alone the last time I had seen him. In that moment, I was sure these intense feelings that had just flooded over me were not mine, but his. But how was I feeling them? Better yet, why? With nothing more than my towel on, I hurried over to my window and peered out. Just like before, There was no Heath. Hold on. Was that Alec off in the distance? It looked like he was headed here. I hurried and got dressed just in time to hear a knock on the door. I heard Logan's voice go back and forth a couple of times before calling my name. I was shocked to see both Asher and Logan putting their shoes on, and a panic-stricken Alex standing in the doorway. What's going on? Alex's eyes darted to me. It's Heath. He didn't come home last night. He seemed upset when I saw him in the middle of the day, but didn't say anything about it. That was the last time I saw him. I'm worried. He's never not come home before. Okay, don't panic. We will find him. Tell me where you've checked, I said, grabbing my shoes from the shoe shelf by the front door. Pretty much everywhere. He's not anywhere in the house. Not by the creek. Not on any of the trails. It's like he just vanished. With that, Logan shot me a sideways look that, under any other circumstance, would have made me chuckle. However, given the situation, this was no laughing matter. Did you try calling him? Yes, but that just led to me finding his phone in his room. Not him. Just then, a wave of pain and emotion hit me so hard, I had to brace myself against the wall. What the hell? You okay? Asher and Logan asked as they rushed to my side. I'm fine, but I think there might be something wrong with Heath. How do... Asher started to ask. Please don't ask me to explain. It's just a feeling I have. I think we should split up to cover more ground. I was both surprised and thankful when they agreed without any argument. We all headed in separate directions. I was glad they were going to check other places, in case I was wrong. But I had a hunch I knew where to find him. I just needed to figure out how to get there. Although now breathless, I continued running down the majestic narrow path, past where I had sat with the native man, continuing further down the wooded trail. It was as though my feet knew something that my conscious mind did not. A few minutes later, I found myself standing before the mouth of the cave. The entryway was dark, but I could see light within. Upon entering, I could see that the top of the cave was open, allowing the sunlight to fill the corridor. Hearing the sound of someone in pain, my eyes searched the shadows. The instant that I spotted him, I rushed to his side. Heath was lying on the ground, holding his stomach. There was blood on a nearby boulder, as well as his shirt. Immediately, worry began to take hold of me. What happened? Here, let me see, I said, reaching to lift his shirt. No, he said, pushing my hand away. Doing so obviously caused him pain as he grabbed at his stomach. What's wrong with you? Stop that. Let me see, I said again. I lifted his shirt to reveal bruising around his ribs and a large gash that spanned from just above his belly button to right below his ribs that matched the jagged edge of the bloody boulder. He let out a shaky breath. It didn't look good. With the size and severity of the bruising, I couldn't help but wonder if there was any internal damage. And the gash, well, it probably could have used a few stitches. We have to get you out of here and taken care of. Are you able to get up? I asked. He shook his head no, and my heart sank. This really wasn't good. Immediately, I whipped out my phone. Of course, no service. With that, I slipped off my outer tank top, thankful I had chosen to wear one that had 2 layers. I folded it and placed it onto his gash. I felt guilty as my eyes trailed up his chiseled abs on their way to checking out the bruising more thoroughly. Don't bother. It's fine. Excuse me? You are definitely not fine. Why won't you just let me help you? You can't, he bit out in a low voice, wincing in pain. Careful. Didn't you know better than to tell a woman she can't do something? I teased in an attempt to distract him from the pain. Although I'd been teasing, I would be lying if I said that part of me didn't want to know why he was so insistent on not letting me help him. Well, you can't, he said coldly. And why is that? I questioned, now feeling the sting of his words. Because you've chosen another man. I've what now? He closed his eyes tightly, with a single tear escaping as he began to speak. The only person that can help me is the woman that I meant to spend my life with, the one who shares an unbreakable connection with me, and only after she has acknowledged the bond would she be able to help me. That's not you. With that, a few more stray tears escaped his closed eyes. Instinctively, I began to wipe them away. There they were, those sparks that seemed to come every time we touched, the sparks I was growing to love. His breath hitched, and I waited for him to speak, but he didn't. His hand moved back down, grabbing at his ribs as he winced in pain yet again. I closed my eyes and wished there was something I could do. It was then that the man's words from yesterday rang out loud and clear in my head. She was the only one allowed to touch him, as her touch was the only one that did not bring him pain. She could make him feel better with just a single touch. Well, I guess there's no time like the present to test that wild theory out. If it worked, I'd be killing 2 birds with 1 stone, so to speak. Not only would I know that there was truth behind all this craziness, but I'd be able to save him before it's too late. Taking a deep breath and mustering up all my courage, I gently slid my hand under his, placing it directly on his bruised ribs. I was both surprised and thankful that he didn't push me away this time. I focused all my energy and intentions on healing him. It was then that I noticed a few more stray tears trickling down his cheek. Not thinking, I began to pull my hand away to wipe the tears, when I was stopped by his firm grasp pulling my hand back down onto his ribs. I didn't know what to think. Did that mean that my touch was actually helping? I mean, why else would he have pulled my hand back onto him? Chapter 11. I kept my hand on him as I spoke again. I knew he didn't want to talk, but I needed to know how he had gotten here and if there was anything dangerous lurking. So, what happened? I asked. It was a moment before he answered. I screwed up. Well, yeah, I could see that. I teased before pushing for a real answer. But what actually happened? He let out a shaky breath. I was upset yesterday. I shouldn't have let myself get so upset. I could feel his body tense up. And what happened? I don't know. I just felt like I needed to get away, and before I knew it, I was here. I landed on the jagged side of the boulder, and I was unable to get myself out of here. The conversation probably wouldn't have made much sense to anyone listening in, but learning what I had about his ability, I understood exactly what he was telling me. Well, that's a pretty crappy situation, I replied. He let out a little laugh. God, his laugh and smile did something to me. Was I awful for being attracted to him right now? Wait, he said he had been upset. So, what was it that had you so upset? You. Me? What did I do? Forget it. Not a chance. If you're going to accuse me of doing something to upset you, then at least be man enough to tell me what it was that I did. I was now feeling a mixture of guilt and frustration. One thing I hated in life was being accused of things that I didn't do. But at the same time, I couldn't help but feel bad if his thinking that I did something wrong had upset him enough to land him in this situation. My attention was snapped back to him, as he held my hand tighter to his side. What's wrong? Is it getting worse? What's wrong is that I knew it was you from the moment I saw you. And it was confirmed when I first touched you. Huh? What exactly am I being accused of here? Nothing. You didn't do anything wrong. The problem was knowing it was you, but seeing that you were with another man, and the feeling that that caused. I couldn't handle it. With that, he started to pull away, causing him to wince in pain as he grabbed his side. I wasn't sure if the tears in his eyes were from the pain, or from him being upset, but I couldn't take seeing him like this. Sure, I wanted to give him a piece of my mind for jumping to conclusions, incorrect conclusions, but I needed to make sure he was going to be okay first. I scooted closer, before gently moving his hand from his ribs. I had to do a double take. Maybe it was my eyes playing tricks on me, but it looked as though the bruising had faded slightly. His breaths were shallow and jagged as he lay there, with his eyes squeezed shut. Placing my hand back on his side, I whispered, "You shouldn't assume things." His eyes opened, and I was met with an intense look. I know what I saw. And what exactly is it that you think you saw? You keep talking to me about me being with another man. I'm assuming you mean Logan. But what did you actually see? Was I holding his hand? No. Kissing him? No. Doing anything that would actually confirm what you're suggesting? No. And I could say that without a shadow of a doubt because I'm not with him. He's my cousin's best friend, and one of mine as well. As I mentioned to you the other night, I've been going through a lot. He's just been trying to make sure I'm okay. He looked over at me wide-eyed. You've been crying. What? That's what you choose to say to me right now? I'm aware I probably look awful. Thank you for reminding me. Come here. He said, lifting one of his arms, as if he were expecting me to lay down with him. As he did, he grimaced in pain. Stop that. You need to be still. Then come here, damn it. There was something about the look in his eyes and the sound of his voice that made it impossible for me to deny his request. I hesitantly laid down next to him. I watched as he slid up his shirt. I was surprised to see the gash. It still looked bad, but it no longer looked like it needed stitches. I froze as he then reached for me. He tucked my shirt up so that it was now just barely covering my breasts. What was he doing? Wrapping his arm around me, he pulled me flush against his body. My breath caught at the overwhelming feeling of sparks enveloping me. He came so close, I could feel his breath on my cheek as he spoke. No, don't move. and tell me why you've been crying. Chapter 12. I was silent. I felt compelled to tell him about what I had gone through just hours before with my mom, but with the pain so fresh, I knew I wouldn't be able to contain my tears if I said the words out loud. His strong arms tightened around me. It's okay. You don't have to tell me if you're not ready. As I looked up into his bright blue eyes, I couldn't stop my tears. He wiped them away before pulling me back in against his chest. My mom was all I could manage to get out, but that had been enough. Somehow, he knew what I was trying to tell him. I'm so sorry, he whispered, leaning his forehead against mine. I'm here for anything you need. I had no idea why his voice and touch had the effect on me that it did, but it soothed me. I felt safe, protected, and at ease. Just don't let go, I said, nuzzling into him more. I don't plan to, he replied with a little smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. We lay there silently for a few moments before I regained my composure, and my mind cleared. How are you feeling? I finally asked. It's getting a little better. He sighed. Good. After that, we remained in one another's arms, talking for hours. He told me about his childhood, family, and lineage. At one point, he explained to me about the cave that we were in, his ancestors' beliefs about its powers, and how it was protected by the spirits, so no abilities were able to be used while inside. That explained it, why he had been stuck in here. Another thing that now made sense was his disheveled appearance, as well as why they were running out of supplies in the estate. He explained that he was having trouble mastering his new ability, and any time he got stressed out, it got worse. I felt a little guilty knowing that his thinking that I was with Logan had added to the problem. I guess he could tell by the look on my face, because he made sure to follow up with, I'm not saying that you did anything wrong, or that it's your fault in any way. I was already in a bad place, and let my imagination create the worst-case scenario. I told him that I understood, and if the tables were turned, I probably would have assumed and felt the same. When I said that, I saw a little glint of something in his eyes. We continued talking for quite a while longer. By the time we were done talking, it felt like we had known each other for years. I had never fallen for someone so quickly. Hell, I didn't even know it was possible. But there was no denying what I was now feeling. I had been lost in my thoughts when I realized he had been awfully quiet. I was shocked to discover he had fallen asleep. I knew his body could use the rest so it could heal, so I stayed still as possible and let him sleep. Chapter 13. I must have fallen asleep at some point too, as next thing I knew, I woke with an overwhelming feeling of peacefulness. I was still in Heath's arms, and he was gently stroking my back. Hey, how are you feeling? I asked, looking up at him. He definitely looked a lot better. The color was back in his face, and his eyes had a sparkle to them. See for yourself, he said, peeling his blood-stained shirt completely off. He was perfect, not just because he flaunted perfectly toned shoulders and abs, but there wasn't so much as a scratch or bruise on him. Wait, how? I managed to get out despite my complete and utter shock. You, he replied. There's no saying how this would have ended up if you hadn't shut up. I smiled, trying to wrap my head around what he was saying. It was definitely hard to believe, yet there was no denying what I was seeing. Without thinking, I reached up and gently ran my fingers over where the cut and bruising had been. Realizing what I was doing, I quickly retracted my hand. He caught it midair. It's okay. But we should probably talk about this. This? I raised my brows questioningly. Was he feeling the same as I was? Or did he simply mean what transpired over the last several hours? Several hours? Crap. The guys were probably freaking out by now. Sure, we could talk, but we should do so as we head back. Your brother was already worried sick about you, and I'm sure Asher and Logan are probably having heart attacks. I continued before he could respond. He cocked his head to the side before nodding. He didn't seem very happy with my suggestion, but got up, extending his hand to help me up nevertheless. It had been about 10 minutes since we had started walking, and he still hadn't uttered a single word, so I decided to break the silence. You wanted to talk? Yeah, look. I know we haven't known each other for very long, but... He started to say before hesitating and looking the other way. But what? I asked, giving his arm a little tug. With that, he stopped walking and looked down at my hand on his arm. Catching me totally off guard, he turned to face me while taking my hand in his. I'd be lying if I said I didn't have very strong feelings for you, and feel extremely protective of you. And, based on what happened in the cave, believe you are the one that I'm destined to be with. I hope that doesn't feel like too much too soon, or scare you off. he said with a little nervous smile. He then continued, "Do you feel anything for me?" Before I could answer, my attention was drawn to Logan yelling from down the trail, "She's over here!" As he ran up, he almost toppled me over, smashing into me. He wrapped his arms around me so tightly I could barely breathe. "My God, I was so damn worried. Are you okay? Are you hurt?" he said, quickly pushing me back to look at me before pulling me back into his arms. I caught a glimpse of Heath's face from over Logan's shoulder. He didn't look happy. I wasn't sure if it was sadness or jealousy I was seeing, but it definitely was building the longer this went on. In that moment, I realized that I hadn't had the chance to answer his question and tell him that I did feel the same. So, as Logan continued to squeeze me like a rag doll, I reached out behind his back and caught a hold of Heath's hand, just as he was about to turn away. He looked back at me shocked. His eyes were so big at that moment, and looked so sweet it melted my heart. Just then, Asher and Alec came running up. Asher piled on, wrapping his arms on top of Logan and me. He glanced down, and I knew he saw my fingers intertwined with Heath's. He looked back and forth between the two of us before giving an understanding smile and kissing my forehead. Alec hugged onto Heath, as Heath apologized for worrying him. As Asher let go, Logan reluctantly pulled back as well. As he did, his eyes darted to my hand, which was still holding tight onto Heath's. I wasn't willing to let go, not only because I wanted him to understand that I really did feel the same, but also because I was worried where his ability would take him to next if he got too upset. My breath hitched as Logan turned to face Heath. "Let's go have a talk," Logan said firmly. "Logan, what are you doing?" I questioned as worry began to creep over me. "Relax, I just want to talk to him," he replied with an unreadable expression as he stared Heath down. I prayed he wasn't going to do anything rash. Heath nodded and followed Logan out of hearing range. Nerve-wracking scenarios played through my mind. What if he told Heath about his feelings for me? Worse yet, what if he was telling Heath to stay away from me? What if... My train of thought was interrupted by Asher. "Hey, Earth to Shelly. Did you hear me?" "Oh, I'm sorry. What were you saying?" He nodded towards Alec, who was now standing next to him. "We were asking what happened. Where you guys were." I sighed. "It's a long story, and you'll never believe it." "No, you misunderstood. I'm asking what ended up happening with the two of you. Where do you stand now? We already know about all the rest." I was completely baffled. I was about to ask him to explain what the heck he was talking about when both he and Alec nodded behind them. Off in the distance was the native man, Heath's ancestor, the one I had spoken to just the other day. I blinked in dismay as he vanished before our eyes. "I'm never going to get used to that," Asher said, shaking his head. I was stunned. "I guess you're not losing it after all," Asher continued with a little chuckle. "Wait, you saw him too?" "Saw him? We had a whole damn conversation with him. He showed us how you found Heath and the condition he was in. And by looking at him now, I guess there really is no denying that his seemingly crazy story was real. So, like I asked before, what is going on between you and Heath? Where do you currently stand?" "Well, I think we're good. You guys showed up before I had the chance to tell him that I felt the same." Just then, a hand wrapped around my waist, sending sparks coursing all over my body. I knew immediately it was Heath. "We're good," he said, giving me a squeeze. Chapter 14. Heath walked up beside me, scuffled my hair, and shot me a loving smile. "Why don't we all meet at our place in a couple hours to grill some dinner?" Everyone agreed. I was surprised when Asher and Logan said they were going to run to the store, and even more surprised when Alec asked to join them, leaving me standing there alone with Heath, with his arms still around my waist. He turned me around to face him. "Did you mean what you said?" I cocked my head to the side. "You're going to have to be a little bit more specific." "Do you really feel the same about me?" Staring up into his beautiful blue eyes, I nodded. "I do." A feeling of exhilaration overcame me as he slowly leaned in, enveloping me in the most passionate embrace of my life. Sparks coursed from my lips throughout my body as his perfect lips pressed against mine. A few minutes later, a realization hit me, and I couldn't hold it in. "Hey, I just realized that this is the longest I've ever seen you stay in one place since I've met you," I stated questioningly. He seemed to be studying my face. "I guess you've helped me regain a sense of calm and control," he replied, pulling me in and kissing my forehead. After a while, we reluctantly peeled ourselves from one another and headed in separate directions to go clean up. We were both in desperate need of showers. After freshening up, I made my way out to the back deck to start setting up for dinner. The guys had made it back, and Asher was over starting up the grill when Logan walked out with a cooler of drinks. He was unusually quiet. "Hey, can I ask you something?" "Sure," he replied. "What did you say to Heath earlier?" He looked at the ground for a minute and then back to me. "I told him that I care about you very much, and if he should hurt you in any way, shape, or form, there will be hell to pay. But I also told him, all that matters to me is your happiness. So if he's what makes you happy, then he's cool with me. Between you and me, though, seeing you with him makes me jealous as hell, and if he ever hurts you, I'd probably do a lot worse than just hurt him. At that point, all bets would be off, and I'd probably do just about anything to put a smile back on that pretty little face." I could feel my cheeks heating up, and was thankful it was dark out so he couldn't see the blush taking over my face. I felt bad knowing how he must feel. I couldn't imagine being so calm or supportive if the tables were turned, and he was riding off into the sunset with some girl. I felt a little guilty thinking that. "I love you, Logan." "I know. I love you too," he said, giving me a knowing nod. I couldn't shake the feeling that had felt a little bit like a goodbye. Asher called for Logan to take over the grill, while he went and grabbed some stuff from the house. As Asher disappeared into the doorway, out came Alec. He walked over to me like he was on a mission. "I didn't get to thank you before for bringing my brother back home to me. I don't know what you did, but he's better now. Better than I've seen him in a very long time." Just then, my eyes darted back to the door, and my jaw dropped. Out walked a breathtakingly handsome man. His short hair was nicely styled, and he was clean-shaven, revealing slight dimples that accented such a perfect smile that it should have been in a magazine. My breath caught when his piercing blue eyes fixated on me. As this cleaned-up, somehow even more handsome version of Heath walked towards me, I felt a jolt of nervousness mixed with excitement. The familiar sparks flooded me as he wrapped me in his embrace. All I could think was that I couldn't wait till dinner was over to get him alone. After that day, he never again had trouble controlling his ability. We became inseparable. It didn't matter what we were doing. We simply loved being with each other. Everything had been going great, until one night, when I was cooking dinner with Asher. We were laughing and joking around, when I was hit by a wave of what felt like anxiety and insecurity. It hit hard, but I had no reason to be feeling these things. Then, it dawned on me. It had to be Heath. What was wrong? He, Logan, and Alec had gone for a jog a while ago. They definitely had been gone longer than usual. This realization, coupled with the feelings bombarding me, I began to worry. I placed my hand on the counter to stable myself. "Whoa, what's wrong?" Asher questioned as he rushed to be by my side. As I told him what was going on, it appeared he was trying his best to hold back a smirk. Just as I was about to interrogate him, a twinge of excitement mixed with hopefulness joined the mix. What the heck was going on? As I heard the light-hearted banter of the guys returning back, my eyes grew wide. "Is Heath going to?" I started to ask as Asher slapped his hand over my mouth, shushing me. "Don't you dare ruin this with your freaky connection thing that you do," he said with a giant smile spanning across his face. First, Alec and Logan entered, followed by a very handsome, but very nervous Heath. He came up and gave me a hug and kiss like usual, but when I went to turn back to check on what I was cooking, he caught my hand, spinning me back towards him. I felt the nervousness again, except this time, it wasn't Heath's. It was mine. I had a feeling I knew what he was about to do. As I glanced around, all the guys had their eyes on me. Oh God, he was about to. He knelt to the ground and pulled out an exquisite ring. The diamond sat in the center of an elegant swirl, and the band was in the shape of thin, dainty wings. The tribe's symbol. It was obvious it was precious and had been passed down through the generations. It was perfect. Now that I've found you, I never want to be without you again. Will you do me the honor of making me the happiest man in the world and be mine forever? Officially? Will you marry me? Tears of joy filled my eyes, but I refused to let them escape. There's nothing I like more. Shortly after, I moved into the main estate with him. We were married on the property in an intimate yet beautiful ceremony. 1 short year later, we welcomed our first of what would eventually become 2 beautiful baby boys. The legend that had once seemed unfathomable had been proven true, and the prophecy fulfilled, just as it had been for generations past, and as it will continue to be for generations to come. And as for Heath and myself, we got the best happily ever after we could have asked for, with our own little tribe. That ends. Alright guys, what did you think? That was Our Legend, Their Destiny from the Butterflies of the Heart book. Book 2. It has 3 separate stories in this one. So if you'd like to hear more, go ahead and check the ebook on Amazon or paperback. Or enter to win books 1 and 2 of Butterflies of the Heart, a romance series. Details of how to win will be coming soon on our Instagram page. Make sure you go give it a follow. Midnight Readers Podcast. Catch you next time.